Today I'm joined by Ann Sheu of Empowered Journey. And thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And I thought we'd start a little bit with your background and your story, and maybe you can share some insights into the impetus behind starting Empowered Journey.
Yeah, so many years ago, my husband and I were running a very fast-growing family business. We were in the furniture retail space, and we found ourselves being super intentional about everything at work and not as intentional about our personal lives. And so we kept finding ourselves putting our personal life on the back burner um, and and just not making time for the things that were really important, right? Birthdays, holidays, um, graduations, friends, baby showers, all of those things were getting put on the back burner. And we knew that if we didn't recalibrate and really realign on what was most important, that things were going to just go down a really dangerous path for us. And so we started applying the same rigor that we applied to business and started applying those ideas and philosophies and concepts and tools to our family. And we noticed a very, very drastic change very quickly. And, we started developing these tools for our own family to just out of pure survival, really, to make sure that we, um, you know, didn't wake up one day and look around and ask ourselves, like, what happened to our life? Like, where did it all go? And so we started meeting every week as a team for our family. And we started getting clear about family values and vision and purpose, setting goals as a family, doing quarterly strategic planning meetings, all of the things that you do for your business. We started doing that for our family. And um, as we started sharing these tools with our friends and family, we realized that we had accidentally developed something really impactful and meaningful. And we just got a lot of encouragement from our friends and from our family to really go out and share it with the world. And so that was kind of how Empowered Journey was birthed. It was just out of, developing tools for our own family's necessity and survival.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful journey. And the fact that you're helping so many other families um, become empowered and uh, what would be the word? Yeah, I think just empowering the whole dynamic, the whole family dynamic. It's not just the parents. It sounds like the kids are involved, and it's sort of all hands on deck. Is that what I'm hearing?
It starts with what we call the leadership team for your family. So it starts with the parents, right? Whether you have kids or not, like the adults of the family, the leadership team, and just like when you're running a business, you start with the leadership team, and everything trickles down from there. As goes the leadership team at work, so goes the rest of the organization. If there's issues and cracks and impurities and imperfections in the organization, you can tie that directly back to the leadership team at work. So same thing with the family. It starts with the leadership team for the family, and then it trickles down into the rest of the family. So at first, it starts with making sure that as a leadership team, that you guys are united and aligned and moving in the same direction, right? Do you guys see things the same? If I were to ask both of you guys, what are you building together? Would you give the same answer? And it starts with the leadership team. And then after that, you can roll things out to your kids, to the rest of your family. But you have to first make sure that you are a united front.
Yeah, you're right. It's so important, so important. Because if you're both of you are going in different directions, you're just not going to get to the same place, and you're going to have that constant struggle, that constant back and forth. Um, so, what does your life look like for you in this season of your business?
Oh, well, I mean, we launched Empower Journey in 2022, 2023-ish. And so I consider, our business is um, still in early stages, but very fast growing and just having massive impact. And so, my life right now looks like I'm sitting in a lot of different seats. I have an amazing team, and they're also, wearing a bunch of different hats. I get to lead workshops and facilitate those conversations with our clients. I am doing a lot of speaking, um, visiting, companies and working with their teams to really develop their people. And then also separately, speaking to organizations where they have couples that really want to take a step back and realign and reassess and really evaluate their family and think through the lens of how can we make this better. And so I spending a lot of my time doing the things that I love to do and that I feel like I am really enjoying and am good at. And I've been very intentional about making sure I'm surrounded by people that can help do things that they're great at that I am not that great at. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but we're a very you know growth-minded business, and one of our core values is help first. So everyone is um, you know in their own roles, in their lanes, but also jumping in to help whenever is needed.
I love that. And so you mentioned there are a couple things that you really like doing. What is it that you really thrive in? Where's your zone of genius?
Yeah, so I love speaking and facilitating, leading groups through the work, and really, attending conferences and bringing this work to larger audiences. I love the energy that comes from the room and doing this work, from doing the work, leading the audience through that type of work. It is just incredibly powerful work, but even more so when it's done in a group. So whether I'm speaking to a conference or a chamber of commerce or a work team, there's just something really magical that happens in the room when there is an existing group because um, we really believe in the collective wisdom of the room. So I love taking groups through that type of work, facilitating that exercise for them.
I love that, the collective wisdom of the group. That's so powerful, like you said. Um, there's so much energy, and each one of us collectively can just. I think what is it? The parts are greater than the sum. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what would be the number one thing that you help people with?
So I think for most people, especially high achievers, we get pulled in a million different directions where we are often losing sight of who we are and what we really want. And so, what we are really great at doing is helping people recalibrate who they are and what they really want. And being able to answer those two really simple questions, but it is shocking how many people can't answer those two questions with clarity and confidence. And so, walking people through the work, helping them be able to articulate very clearly who you are and what do you want. Because when you know the answers to those two questions, then you can really be intentional about the projects that you're going to work on, the businesses that you want to start, the teams that you want to lead. You can use the answers to those two questions to really filter out all of the noise from your life so that you can be intentional and really design your life and live your life through the lens of your purpose and through the lens of the answers of those two questions. Who are you and what do you want? Instead of living someone else's definition of success, right? Checking all of the boxes, doing all of the things that we have been told by society, by our family, by our peers, our colleagues, by social media that we should be doing, but might not necessarily feel great or fulfilling. And so that's what we're really helping people do is really answer the questions of who you are and what do you want. Because when you know those two questions, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. So, how do you reconcile that, or how do you help couples or teams reconcile that? When they answer these questions, I know who I am, I know what I want, and now create alignment. How do you create alignment in groups, with be it a team, be it a a family dynamic where it's a couple in there. How do you do that?
So, one of the core pillars of answering who are you is being able to identify what we call your no matter what values. So, this is, a lot of people have done values work, but we take a completely different approach. We really believe values work should not be aspirational. And so, to really be able to answer what are your no matter what values, the ones that show up no matter what season of life you're in, no matter what's going on with work, no matter what's going on at home, right? The values that are so true to you that it's hardwired in you. When you know the answers to those questions, then you're able to start understanding why you are triggered by certain people, right? You're able to connect the dots between those triggers and where there is misalignment with one of your values. So, for example, one of my values is better every day. I am obsessed with learning and growth and development, right? The amount of time and money and energy I spend on coaches and courses and books and all of the things to help my learning and development and growth. When I am in a situation where I have to interact with somebody who might not share that value, right? Complacent, not really interested in doing their own work, um, it tends to be triggering for me. It's hard for me to have conversations with people who haven't read a book in, since high school English class, right? Who aren't doing their own inner work, who aren't, you know, working with a coach or a therapist or a counselor or whoever their person is, who maybe don't journal. It's hard for me because that work is so important to who I am. It's part of the work that I do now at Empower Journey. And so in the beginning, I used to think that those people would just be saying things or acting a certain way to make me mad, right? Like I would take it personally. But now I really understand that my value, my no matter what value of better every day is not shared by everybody that I interact with. That's just the reality of life. And now I'm able to really understand that they are acting out of their own values. I'm acting out of my own values. And when there is misalignment in those values, there's often friction and some triggering of each other. And so the true alignment on teams and in families comes when we really have an understanding of each other's no matter what values and those corresponding triggers, right? I facilitated the values workshop for a leadership team. And at the end of it, I had everyone on the team stand up and share their values and the corresponding triggers. And I kid you not, somebody from the team stood up and said, "Oh my gosh," to the founder. She said, "Oh my gosh, every morning I come to work and I'm triggering you." And the founder looks at her and says, "Yep, you do." And, it gives them that shared language for them to be able to really talk about these things that on the surface might feel a little silly, but really these are the things that people really care about, that really matter to them. And it is a source of team health issues when you can't have those conversations because you don't have the language. And so this work really helps give teams this shared language to be able to say, this is my no matter what value. And when this value is challenged, this is what that trigger looks like, right? These are the things that feel like it's challenging that value. When I hire an employee and they don't want to read the books that I suggest that they read, right? That's triggering for me. That can quickly deteriorate your team's health, right? It can really erode the team's health. But when you have the shared language and you are able to really come from a place of understanding each other's behaviors from a true place of understanding, not just surface level, but we're able to see below the surface now, that's when true team alignment happens. And same at the relationship within your family units. When you understand your spouse's no matter what values and their corresponding triggers, now you understand why certain things really frustrate them and why certain things that I do frustrate my husband, right? It's not because I'm intending to, it's just how I'm showing up through the lens of my no matter what values. And so it really helps with alignment because it gives people this shared language and this grace and understanding that comes from seeing each other, truly seeing each other, and not just surface level.
I love that. Yeah, so powerful. And I think around that, the language is the level of awareness that it was not there, that you help bring to the surface, right? So it's awareness plus the language equals that greater understanding. And I think, possibly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but appreciation, right? When we can see people for who we are, who they are, and their values, through their values, we may not agree with it, but we can certainly appreciate it a bit more, I think.
And that awareness piece is key because one of the things that I learned from my mentor, who learned it from someone else, is that awareness is the first piece that is required if you want change or transformation. If you want to do something different, you can't do it if you don't have the awareness first, right? So creating the awareness of what are your values, what are your partner's values, what are your values, what are your colleagues' values or your boss's values or your direct reports' values, creating that awareness then gives you the opportunity to pause and ask yourself, okay, now I know my values. I know I'm showing up this way because this value is being triggered. What do I want to do about it? Right. Whereas without the language, without doing this work, without being able to identify those values, I'm just reacting, showing up triggered, then I'm reacting, and I'm in this perpetual cycle um, of, of like perpetuating whatever it is that was unhealthy. And so that awareness is really key.
Yeah, I so agree. And I can see in my own life being reactive to the way other people show up. Again, because I'm operating from my value system, not understanding their value system. And so, yeah, if we all understood each other from a values perspective, there would be, I think, a lot less reaction in our environments between colleagues and families. So powerful. Let's switch gears here a little bit. Now, we know that the entrepreneurial journey has never been smooth and linear. Would you be able to share a learning that you've had somewhere along your journeys, like maybe something that didn't go wrong or challenged your perception? And what was the learning you took from it?
Well, I think so. I am also an EOS implementer, so Entrepreneur Operating System. It's a framework that I use with my coaching clients when I'm working on business coaching. So I work with leadership teams and really help them build better businesses and doing three things that we call vision, traction, healthy. So vision from the standpoint of getting everyone 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you're going to get there. Traction just means instilling discipline and accountability throughout the organization so that no matter where you look, everyone's executing on that vision that you've defined. And then healthy just means creating fun, loving, functional, healthy teams that really enjoy working together. And and so EOS is really designed to help you do those three things: vision, traction, and healthy. And one of the things that I see time and time again with my clients, but then also in my own team, is um, our people issues, right? And making sure that we aren't hiring out of desperation, and making sure that when we hire, they are the right person sitting in the right seat, and that we're hiring for a seat and that we are running them through the lens of making sure that their core values aligned and that they get and want and have capacity to do their jobs well. And oftentimes, my I would say my personal biggest mistakes as an entrepreneur is when I hire out of desperation and then I forego analyzing, are they core values aligned, and are they sitting in the right seat? Do they have the intuitive hardwiring and the desire to sit in that seat and the capability to sit in that seat, right? When I don't run potential employees through that lens and I hire out of desperation, that's when I find myself in trouble. And then, I've got to make it right, because when you hire someone that's not right person, right seat, you're not having fun, they're not having fun. It's just misery all around. And so I think just making sure that I'm slowing down in the hiring process and being really methodical and analytical and trying to be as objective as possible. And I think that's why this analysis of core values alignment and then making sure they're sitting in the right seat really helps to make something that is really subjective, right? Like, do I like this person? Do I think they can do a good job? This hiring process feels very subjective, but making it a little bit more objective by having certain criteria that they need to meet and check to pass the bar to make sure that they're somebody that should join your organization and sit in that seat.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to hiring out of desperation, and it is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, and it does tend to come and bite you back, bite you in the butt a little bit. But I love that. It sounds to me like you're also using that no matter what values lens to hire and to filter out potential candidates within your own business. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I personally am, because I've been facilitating that no matter what values work for so long, I feel like I am able to get a sense and guess what people's values are. Like there's certain questions that I can ask that will really give me a clue or give me some hints about what people's values are. And so I will use my guesses to kind of take a stab at what I think as far as whether their core values are aligned. Now, do I get it right all the time? No, I make hiring mistakes all the time, but um, it's better than no framework, you know? So
It's an educated guess, right? I get that. And what is one success or win that you're really proud of?
I think just whenever we get an opportunity to take a team or an individual through the work, there is something really magical that happens. Something unlocks for people where they are able to reconnect with who they really are and what they really want and have this opportunity to recalibrate. And I would say for me, one of my no matter what values is impact. And so to be able to see that impact and see how our clients are able to take this work back to their teams and lead better at work, take this work back to their families and show up better for their families. To me, that's the win. So while I can't take credit for the work that they do once they go back to their teams, I'm really proud of how impactful the work is in spurring change and creating this environment where they are able um, to to start this ripple effect in their life.
Yeah, that's amazing. So on that theme, you talked about impact and that you see the ripple effect. Where do you hope this is all going to lead? Like, what's the big picture for you that you're building towards?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So I just imagine this world where everybody is able to answer those two questions of who are you and what do you want, and what that does for our businesses and our families and our communities when people are living with that level of intentionality to really be able to answer who are they and what do they want. That means that they are showing up fully present, committed to whatever they're saying yes to, confident to say no to things that maybe they shouldn't be saying yes to, right? And so when you've got people that are really clear about those two questions and the answers, I think that just transforms the world. And the impact that that has on our businesses, on our families, on our communities, that ripple effect is what really drives me, what inspires me. And then just to answer the question a little bit more concretely, I would say that the answer to the second question, what do you really want? At Empower Journey, we call that answer your decade dream. And so I'm on this mission to help define 1 million decade dreams. So through, speaking to people like you and your listeners, through The book that we're working on, our podcast, the courses that we have, when people come and they do the work and they're able to really answer the question of what do you really want? And that answer is essentially your decade dream. When they are able to craft their decade dream, um, it's magical. They really are able to use that to as their North Star and their guiding light and help them make decisions faster, more effectively, more authentically. And yeah, I hope to help a million decade dreams become defined. So that's kind of where I'm headed. I'm headed.
That's a beautiful dream. I'm sure you will get there. One question that just came to mind is currently you work with organizations, leaders within an organization. You work with in the family unit, the parents. What are your thoughts about taking these two questions to a younger audience? And how young would you go? Because personally, I think I think there's a lot of adults today who wish they had that question or these values, these exercises to go to 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever that looks like. Where do you want to take this for a younger audience? What would
Yeah, thank you for asking. So the those two questions, who are you and what do you want? We help our clients get there through a one-day workshop called Know Thyself. And um, we have done Know Thyself workshops for all different demographics, all different audience, ages, walks of life, right? We've done it from 12 years old all the way to retired, empty nesters, kids, no kids, married, single, everything in between. And what is really powerful about this work is my joke is it's great for anyone in transition. But who is not in some sort of transition point in their life, right? Maybe you just got married, you just had kids, you just started a new position at work, you just, your kids, you just became empty nesters. Like there's always something going on in your life where you feel like there's some sort of transition point, some sort of pivot moment. And this work is really great to help reground you back to what is really important. And to answer your question, I love doing this work with the younger audience. So specifically like that 12 to 18-year-old audience, because it's so sweet to see their decade dreams. I mean, like for me, my decade dream is to help a million decade dreams be defined, right? That's amazing and cool and fun, and it's going to help transform communities. And when we do this work with teenagers, their decade dreams are, buy their first house, graduate from college, pay off their car. They are so sweet and innocent and just so it's so inspiring to see kids, what we kids do this work and see how it really helps guide them and shape them in some of their most pivotal years. When you can answer, what do you really want as a 12, 13, 14-year-old? Wow, how does that affect who you're hanging out with, right? What organizations, what clubs you're going to join in school, what sports you're going to play, what colleges you want to apply to. And so, we have done this work for that younger demographic, and it's always a lot of fun.
I can imagine. And I think really important, there's not, there's so much clarity that comes from asking these questions. I remember, at that age, I don't think I was as aware, and I sort of went with the flow, and I think I succumbed to societal expectations, and lived other people's dreams and other people's values and not my own.
Yes, don't we all? That's when we aren't able to answer these questions, that's what happens. We are all, I mean, I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, yeah, so powerful. I love your story, and thank you so much for sharing. The work you're doing is amazing. Where can our listeners find you online?
Oh, yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn, Ann Sheu, and I'm happy to send you the link for that. And then our website is empoweredjourney.com, MPOWERED journey.com.
That's great. We'll have those links in the show notes. Thank you again, and so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks again for joining me on the Leadership Lab.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for spending your time with me today on the Leadership Lab podcast. My hope is that this conversation sparked a new perspective or reinforced something you already knew. Until next time, keep leading with curiosity and intention.